One Friday Fights 107 takes place this Friday at 2:30 South African time, live on the One Championship YouTube page. I will be breaking this fight card down next in Fighting with Friends. Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Fighting with Friends. It's your boy, brother Kaya, back again to do another breakdown for you of One Friday Fights 107. Just bear with me a little bit. I am still a little bit shook, shaken up of Arsenal's loss last week. So I'm just licking my wounds at the moment. So I'm going to be doing this fight card a little bit slower, and I am only going to be highlighting certain amount of fights on the fight card, just because some of the guys are slightly unfamiliar faces for me as usual. But the ones that I do know, I'm going to be talking about those. And I'll do the format like this because I noticed of late that the One Championship isn't really putting up the card information for the Friday Fights card as soon as they normally used to do it. You were able to get the information like this on their website, literally 3-4 days before the fight card even goes out. But now we're getting it either the day before or we're getting it the morning of, which is a little bit, sucky. But okay, we got the image at least. This is obviously on Nick Atkins's, as you can see on screen there. This is his Instagram post that he did. So I'll have it on screen. You can see that that's the fight card right there. We will start from the top of the card, where we see Aslam John Otikov taking on Dudian Lek in the flyweight Muay Thai bout, and I'm super, super amped for this one. So I'm going to give you some stats on Otikov. I think he's a fantastic fighter. He's a little young, 21 years old, but that's amazing. It just shows you that the flyweight division is really one of the most stacked divisions in the One Championship right now. His record in the One Championship is undefeated, as you can see on screen. 6 wins, 0 losses, 2 wins by KO, 1 win by TKO, 50% finishing rate. And he's looking fantastic. There's Kawatem, who looked amazing 2 weekends ago. Wacharapon, Yognong Chai, yeah, Pompet. He's beaten some really good opponents. Granted that this last one against Pompet was a little bit difficult. I know it said unanimous, but I think Pompet actually pushed him to his limits, if I'm being completely honest. I don't think it was actually unanimous, but they gave it to him regardless. It was a very good fight nonetheless. But the performance of the fight style that you get from Otikov is very new hybrid kind of style. It's a kickboxing-esque, but he does have the Muay Thai style. He does throw some knees, does throw some elbows, doesn't like the clinch. He hates the clinch. But I do think that with experience, as he grows older, he's going to get used to that clinch style. But that's usually where I find some of his weaknesses is when the opponent has him in the clinch and they're just throwing some knees and elbows and making him fight that fight. Because out in the open, Otikov's footwork is almost second to none when it comes to this division. I mean, there's a lot of footwork heavy, brilliant fighters in the flyweight division. You've got the Stupinan twins, you've got Freddie Haggerty, and I'm referring to the athletes that are all under 22 years old right now. Some just fabulous guys that are performing at the moment. They're just looking amazing. And the Dash brothers, for example, they just got amazing footwork. And Otikov brings that to the game. He's got great boxing as well. It's almost reminiscent of the Eastern European cultural dances. Just think of Vasily Lomachenko, the way he used to fight. I'm not saying they're on the same level. I'm not saying the same kind of fighter, but the way Lomachenko would almost dance, the way he's moving around you, it's like he's literally dancing, and opponents can't seem to track that down. And Otikov is bringing that into the One Championship, where if you watch him fight, it's almost showmanship. Sometimes I get upset about it. I'm like, just fucking fight instead of doing all this dancing stuff. But a lot of the times that dancing kind of footwork is difficult to track down, and opponents have a hard time actually hitting him. So Otikov is brilliant, dude. He's young still, and I'm a big fan of the style. I mean, especially when he beat Wacharapun. When he beat Wacharapun, I was like, whoa, whoa, okay, there's something in here, right? So he's taking on Tudian Lek, who's an amazing fighter as well. 22 years old, as you can see on screen. I became a fan of Tudian Lek because of his hard hitting punches. His record in One Championship is 5 wins, 3 losses. As you can see, he's got no wins by KO or for example, no wins by finishes, but still a very good fighter, right? His last fight, he fought again against Asadullah, and Asadullah is really, really good. Right? Asadullah knocked him out. That was December at Fight Night 90, as you can see on screen. So he's got 2 losses. But if you just want to draw your attention to those names that you can see on screen, I'm not even going to bring up the rest of his fights. Right? Just look at these names you can see on screen here. There's Asadullah, right? Nakrob, Nakrab, who's currently ranked in the division, by the way. Taika Naito, who was basically fighting for the title not too long ago. This Nakrab is again Kong Suk and Taika. So he's fought really, really, really top class athletes in his last 6 fights. And I don't want to go and say, oh, but now look at the 2 losses and be like, oh, what's up with the guy? That's 2 losses against athletes who are currently at the point of at the peak of the mountain. If you think about it, like they're very close to going for a title, and I'm not gonna kind of hold that against him if I'm being honest. Just clear my camera quickly. I can see I'm a bit blurry here. Oh, that's much better. Yeah, I just think that we have to kind of take that with a pinch of salt, just because 22 years old, coming up guys who are at the point that's a little bit further than you are in your career. So I want to give him a little bit of respect for the taking those fights and putting on good performances. Okay, he got knocked out in his last one, but Lemon going to the decision against Nakrab, who I think is one of the hardest hitters in that division, and it's quite big for flyweight actually. He held his own in that fight. He beat Taika, who's fighting against Estupinan in June. Johan is super, and so like he's taking some good guys. Stylistically, I think we might just see Otikov win the fight on decision again. Maybe even stopping Dudanek, but Dudanek I think hits harder. But he's not as fast, right? He doesn't have the same kind of footwork. He's more, typical Muay Thai, flat foot, standing there, bouncing a little bit, and then throwing hard stuff when necessary, kicking into the body, kicking into the legs to slow down his opponent. I think he's going to have to use the calf kick in this fight, which you don't see a lot of the Thai guys do. They just kind of kick as hard as they can to kind of break the bone. So they will just go straight for your knee, straight for your thigh. But you don't really see them go and hit the calf and purposefully try to go for the calf the way you see a lot of the Japanese fighters do it. I think that if the Thai guys can start using that a little bit more, like for example, Sipulik does use it a lot, and Rotang as well. If Dudanle can utilize that kick and also the Mawashi Geri to the stomach, I think he can definitely slow down Otikov. I don't think he should try and slow him down with the hands. He's going to hit a lot of air. He's going to miss a lot of the time because Otikov is very difficult to hit. So to beat someone like that, he's going to have to make him fight backwards. Don't let him move laterally. Track him down. Make sure that the geography of the ring is limited, so that Otikov can't really go anywhere and is forced to kind of stay in the pocket with you. And I think Dunanik has a better chance there in winning the fight. So very intriguing matchup, and it's got some flyweight implications as well. I think the winner here can definitely put themselves in a conversation of potentially getting a $100,000 contract. I hope that one of them get it. I mean, Otikov's undefeated in 7 fights so far, so I think he's definitely gonna have to make a shout if he wins this fight. Like he didn't get it in the fight that he had lost. So I definitely think that when he beat Pompet, I thought he was going to get it there, but he didn't. So if he beats Julian Lek here, he puts himself in a better chance of getting that contract. I don't think he gets the contract unless it's like a devastating finish. But I don't know if it's going to be something like that. Whereas Julian Lek, if he wins here, I don't think he gets the contract. But I mean, he fought against athletes who were technically contracted already. So yeah, big implications there. But of course, as always, ladies and gentlemen, give me your thoughts in the comments about this matchup. I'd love to hear what you have to say about that one. In the meantime, I'm going to keep it moving to the co-main event between Junior Fairtex taking on Vero, who just made a debut against Francisca Vero. Vera, sorry. Beautiful fight, by the way. Go watch that back. I think I was one Friday fights. One of the 90s, I think. Amazing fight and good debut for Vero. She didn't get the dub there, but it was a very good debut for her. Some stats on the fighters here. Junior Fairtex, happy to see her fight again. She's an absolute killer. 19 years old. Big fan. Let me just quickly see what division they fight. It's atomweight, so I'm a big fan. She's undefeated in the One Championship, as you can see. 7 wins, 0 losses, 1 by TKO, 5 unanimous decisions, 1 split decision. 14% finishing rate, but that's okay. That's not often you see the women knocking each other out. Maybe they get stoppages via elbows because elbows are insane. But I mean, the last win came against Emily Chung, who I thought was probably gonna beat her because Emily hits like a fucking truck. But she didn't, and I think Junior held her own in that fight. She was the better, faster, more frequent, active striker in that fight, and she was able to utilize some amazing footwork and tips to control the distance in that fight. So I thought beautiful performance. I mean, she's undefeated for a reason, right? She's especially in One Championship, she's just a beast of a fighter, and I'm a big fan. So I'm looking forward to seeing throw down this weekend. However, she's coming up against a prospect that I think she might come up short against. But again, I said that about Vero's opening fight, and she lost. 28 years old, beast of a fighter. I mean, if you check her out in Thai Fight League, you'll know what I'm talking about. She's a scary athlete, fighting out of Tiger Muay Thai, Burma. These athletes are just tough as nails. Because Francesco Vera was putting it on her, and Vera just didn't go down. I mean, there was moments where she looked rocked and she was getting tired, and I just think that Francesco was a bit more. She game planned better, and she had had a better arsenal of strikes and Vader won that fight. She was a bit more elusive in how she was moving, whereas Vader was just throwing heat, hard right hands, looking to counter with hard right hands and putting everything into her shots, and ultimately it depleted her gas tank. Because Francesco was just utilizing elbows. She was doing everything in Muay Thai and made her get the win. Whereas Vero ultimately relied a lot on her durability and power in that fight, and it didn't get her through over the finishing line. So coming to this fight, who's gonna win? I want to say Junior. I really do want to say Junior's gonna win. Um, just because she's on a streak right now, the momentum is there. She's also very elusive, and I do think that she can also utilize the elbows and the tips in a way that can manage the distance and put it in her favor. But I don't know. Vero is just tough as nails. I don't know if anyone can actually stop her. I think you can beat her by decision, but I just don't know if you can beat her by stopping her. And for that, it's tricky. You know what I mean? But I mean, you have Thai versus Thai. Thai, excuse me. Um, but sort of neighboring countries to Thailand, there's usually quite an equal footing. It's only when Thai fighters having to fight fighters that are outside of Southeast Asia, or they have to fight someone that's maybe from Europe, is when they start to think, whoa, or fight a little bit differently. They either win overwhelmingly or they lose overwhelmingly. But when they're fighting against a region that's similar to them, it's kind of fair pickings there. It's like it can go either way, and for that reason, it's hard to choose a winner. It's very hard to choose a winner here for me, to be honest with you. I'm struggling to see it. I'm struggling to see it because this young athlete in junior is nothing to slouch, no one to play games with. You know what I mean? And I know Vero is bigger, stronger, taller, but in the day it comes down to a skill set, and I think Junior skill set is just phenomenal. So let's go with that. I want to go with Junior. I hope that Vero gets a win. I don't want to see it go down another loss because I mean the one championship is really if she had to beat Francesca Vera, she would have gotten the contract. She was like basically that was what was going to happen for her. They were trying to they are trying to fast track Vera. So she needs the win here. If she doesn't get the win, they might just halt that fast track and might just give Vera someone else, and not someone that's going to be a top contender. Because I do think a Junior Fairtex with that record is very close to getting a $100,000 contract and fighting for a title very soon. So, yeah, let's see how this matchup goes. Of course, let me know your thoughts in the comments, please, ladies and gentlemen. I want to keep the banter going, obviously, as usual. And the people that have bet on a lot of my predictions, if you can be so kind to share with me and us at Fighting with Friends the links to where you can make these bets, because we struggle to get it here in South Africa. Last week, by our surprise, it was on one of our betting sites that we have in South Africa. But then once we wanted to make some bets, they removed it. So if you can share some links, if you look at our description box, there is a link to our link tree. If you go on there, it will take you through to our Discord server, and at which point in the Discord server in the general chat, you can just drop the link there to the betting sites for one championship. Thank you kindly. All right, let's keep it moving, ladies and gentlemen, to the next bout that I'm going to be breaking down between Patak Nin, that's the bout number 10, as you can see on screen, taking on Santana or Singh Wood. Beautiful fighters to take on each other here. I'm quite intrigued for this matchup. Patak Nin, I think he's really phenomenal, if I'm being honest. Young, good fighter. I do think that the last fight that he had was a little bit not a great showing for him, but he took on someone who was very close to becoming a very recognizable name, but unfortunately is facing some potential life ban, and we might not see him again. But Patak Nin, they could have won championship, 3 wins, 1 loss, as you can see on screen. His last fight was a loss against Chalabdam, and that's the fighter we go check on our YouTube page. We did a video on Chalabdam facing that life ban. You can get more on that story over there. He lost that fight via leg kicks, unfortunately, and yeah, that wasn't nice. But prior to that, He beat Petnam Kun and Ti, and I watched both those fights, and I thought he looked phenomenal in both those fights. Petnam Kun is also slick on the hands, slick on the feet, very slick fighter, and I think Patak Nin held his own in that fight and did really, really well. 22 years old, as you can see, he's taking on Singh Tanawut, 27 years old, who also lost to Chalam Dam, by the way. His record in one championship is 2 wins, 1 loss, 50% finishing rate. And this fight against Brazil was amazing, by the way. And Brazil's also considering to become a nice up-and-comer athlete for this Muay Thai flyweight division. And let me just see, they're fighting catchweight, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there we go, 127 pounds. But they're very close to the flyweight mark. Who do I think is going to win? I want to go with Singh Tanawut, but I'm a bit more of a Patak Nin fan. I know he's younger. I think that what I watched from Patak Nin, I'm going to discount this fight against Chalam Dam because I also think Chalam Dam, I have my reservations about him. And that's mainly because I think that he might be also on the juice, if I'm being honest. But that's a conversation for another time. Patak Nin, prior to that, I think he's really good fighter, man. Like he's strong, he's fast, closes distance really well. He's got good jabs, good low kicks, good tips. Just like a lot of the Thai fighters do, but the way that he game plans is amazing. He's able to suck his opponents into his range really well. It's just that fight against Shalam Dam, he didn't have an answer for those leg kicks. And if Singh Tanawut is smart, you could take a game plan out of that from Chalam Dam and actually go and target the legs of Patak Nin. And he's going to have to do that because if he doesn't do that, Patak Nin's going to definitely make this a dogfight. He's that kind of fighter. He's going to make it a dogfight. So it's a very intriguing matchup in both guys. Both guys can really put each other out. I do expect a stoppage in this fight, unlike the other two that I was talking about earlier. I do expect a stoppage in this one. And if I must choose one, I'm going to say Patak Nin just because he's the cleaner striker for me. He's the more well-rounded striker as well. But the power advantage is going to be on Singh Tanawut's side. But okay, I don't know. Give me your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, on that one. Because One Championship did a good job of putting those fights together. Let's just quickly look at it again. So we have the main event of Otikov taking on Dudianlek. That's going to be amazing. That's probably going to be a finish. If it's going to be a finish, it's going to come in the hands of Otikov. But it is going to be a win. I think Dudianlek wins the fight by a decision, maybe utilizing a lot of the clinch work there. Junior versus Vero. I don't think it's going to be a finish there either. If it's going to be a finish, it's probably going to be the likes of Vero getting the stoppage. But I think Junior might just win over the course of the 3 rounds by just outclassing Vero in terms of utilizing a good game plan. Patak Nin versus Singh Tanawut. Also the wall kind of fight there. We're going to get a smash for sure. Someone's going to go to sleep. Patak Nin is the cleaner striker, where Singh Tanawut's the more brawler, aggressive, hard-hitting kind of fighter. So that shapes up to be a fantastic fight. There are some other fights on the card that I'm not too familiar with. Sankri, Coco, not really know. I know that this fight between Nayan Mohammed taking on Adam, that's going to be the main event of the undercard. And I think Nayan Mohammed, this is going to be his One Championship debut. So keen to see what's going to happen over there, right? And then if I'm going to move a little down on the card, there's Rifteen. We've seen Rifteen fight before. So I'm keen to see what Rifteen's going to do. But I'm going to draw your attention to this bout of the year, which is the second fight of the night, right? And that is the fight between Avazbek, right? Avazbek, Kolmir Zayev. There we go. Fun fighter. I'm a big fan. Very creative. Fighting out of Uzbekistan. Just good wrestling, good striking. And he just strikes me as the kind of opponent or fighter that, this is what happens when you don't have a soundproof studio. Whenever there's a helicopter flying over or plane, it's just extremely loud here. But Avazbek is just fun. What I was trying to say was he's the kind of fighter where if there's an athlete or a fighter that smiles at you while he's fighting, and I'm not talking about smiling at you when he or she gets hit, because I don't like that. That's usually a sign of a fighter that doesn't like that punch or kick when they get hit. But Avazbek is smiling because he's just got this thorough enjoyment for competing and a thorough enjoyment for martial arts. He loves when people take him down or people strike at him, and he loves to just be in a fight. And for me, that is just a frightening athlete to take on. So I just think that that's something to be interesting on. He's taking on Robson De Oliveira, who is forced to be reckoned with in the One Championship right now. So let's go through some stats on these two athletes. So Avazbek Komirzayev, that's how you say it, 24 years old. Record in one championship is 5 wins, 1 loss with a 100% finishing rate. He got 1 win by TKO, 4 wins by submission. Let's look at the list of people that he's beaten so far. So I'm gonna go to there's Bektur, who's a fantastic fighter, Zenispek Ulu, and then we have Polat Zaman Bekuev. Zaman Bekuev fought last week in the Karate Combat, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember who he took on. He lost the fight, but it's interesting to see that he was fighting Karate Combat when he's still fighting at one championship. But I memory serves me well, he's not actually contacted at one championship. So he's only fighting Friday fights. So that means he can compete at other organizations as well. Won the fight by submission, so his last 2 fights ended in submission. And if you look at all these fights in the one championship is ended in submissions or in stoppages. He obviously are the one that he did lose, but Bektur is really good, bro. Bektur is like, he's actually very good. But I love his style. I love Avazbek's styles, right? So Robson, the Monkey King, de Oliveira, 32 years old, fighting out of Brazil, and record in one championship: 3 wins, 0 losses, 67% finishing rate, 2 wins by submission. And he's currently undefeated in the one championship, as you can see. And I've watched most of his fights, especially the one against Kohei Wakabayashi or Wakabayashi, right? And that was an amazing fight, but it just shows you that the jiu-jitsu is quite incredible from the Oliveira, from Robson. Scary prospect, but that doesn't mean he can't box as well, right? He's got some good hands. A lot of those submissions has been set up because of his hands. Like he does some good boxing, gets his opponents to kind of shoot at him first, and then next thing you know, he's putting in some kind of choke, right? I don't know if he's going to get that job done in the fight against Avazbek, right? Avazbek is just way too intense. Of course, I want to see what Avazbek does when he gets taken down. Someone with the caliber of Robson, because Robson, again, slick jiu-jitsu practitioner. But I do think that with being the shorter fighter, I think he's the shorter fighter. What's this? 1.25. He's 5'8", and this one's 5'4". So there's a significant reach and height advantage for Avazbek, right? So I think Avazbek is going to be the one that's probably going to win on the striking department. He's faster, throws some spinning shit all over the place, whether it's spinning back for spinning kicks, knees. That's MMA, so he's going to throw a lot of wild stuff at you. And I expect that Robson to keep his guard up and be very patient, because if he gets caught into that kind of exchanges, I think he's going to get off worse here. So I think he's going to have to be patient. Look for an opening to when he can maybe fight out of his jab and let Avazbek throw some wild stuff at you. Let him deplete the gas tank and try and catch something as it comes at you. Get it to the ground and let Avazbek utilize his scrambling ability to kind of counter the jiu-jitsu, and then we're going to see what's going to happen there. Because I'm more intrigued to see what will happen once these guys get the fight to the ground. But when they're standing, I think it's going to be a mismatch. I think Avazbek's going to win when they're standing. So I'm really hoping that Robson de Oliveira gets it to the ground very early so that we can see a little bit of a grappling exchange between the two guys, because I think that's the best chance at this fight actually being competitive. Because when they're standing, I think it's going to be a competitive matchup. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is my time. If you made it this far, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear what you have to say. We will be doing our recap of this fight card on Saturday morning. I know we missed a couple of recaps last week for Friday fights. So it's just because the schedule was going through intense. We will try and get to you with that one this weekend, as well as a live for UFC's 315 this Sunday. We will be going live at 3:30 South African time. So that will mean that we will basically join the live or start the live in the middle of the UFC prelims, so we can make it nice and early for that main event, main card. Unfortunately, it's not that big of a card, and the time just doesn't allow us to be up from 1 a.m. all the way right through till 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. It's just tough. So stay tuned for that. And then, yeah, as always, like, share, and subscribe. I said that before. You can catch myself on the next one with the team. Toodle pips. Stay tuned. Cheers. Bye-bye.